traditional institution, as custodians of culture and tradition of the people, play an indelible role in the growth and development of any society. In many communities, traditional rulers also provide religious guidance and leadership, earning respect and followership of their people. Many policies and programs of government succeeded with active support and involvement of the traditional rulers as grassroots mobilizers. Now, it is coronavirus pandemic and the traditional institutions are being actively involved in ensuring people believe it is real. However, a lot more needs to be done to harness these enormous potentials for people to accept safety protocols to reverse the growing number of COVID-19 cases nationwide. This is our focus today on Panorama from NTA Maiduguri Network Center. I am Abubakar Muhammad Musa. President Muhammadu Buhari has approved the reconstitution of the board of the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation, NNPC, after the expiration of the term of the board members appointed in 2016. In a statement by the special advisor to the president on media and publicity, Femi Adeshina, indicates that members of the new board are Mohammed Lawal, North-East, Tajuddin Umar, North-East, Adamu Mahmoud Atta, North Central, Senator Magnus Abe, South-South, Dr. Stephen Dike, Southeast, and Chief Pius Akinye Lure, Southwest. The new board will be in place for a period of 3 years. Following the banditry attacks in some parts of Sokoto State, President Muhammadu Buhari directed the Chief of Defense Staff to undertake a quick assessment of the area worst hit by bandits to enable government do the needful. Abdurrahman Usman Jibrila reports that the Chief of Air Staff, Air Marshal Sadiq Baba Abubakar, visited Sokoto to carry out the directive.
The wake of the banditry attacks in Sokoto Eastern Zone, there were several calls from concerned citizens and organizations for quick intervention to save lives and property in the affected areas. The Nigerian Air Force, led by the Chief of Air Staff, Air Marshal Sadiq Baba Abubakar, and other heads of operations in the airspace, met in Sokoto to discuss on how best to neutralize the bandits. The meeting, held behind closed doors, brought together various stakeholders to brainstorm on how to salvage the state from the hands of the bandits. During the visit, the Chief of Air Staff inspected the aviation plant of the Sultan Abubakar III International Airport in Sokoto and other areas of operations. At the Sultan's Palace, Air Marshal Sadiq Baba Abubakar said he is in the state to carry out a presidential directive.
Our appeal to the people of Sokoto State is to help us with relevant information that will support our operations.
Sultan Muhammad Saad Abubakar described the killing of over 70 people in Sabon Birni local government area as inhuman and tragic, calling for massive recruitment, training of personnel, and provision of state-of-the-art facilities to the security apparatus to enable the country overcome the security challenges. The Sokoto Eastern Zone had in recent times experienced attacks by bandits, leading to loss of many lives. In Sokoto, Abdurrahman Usman Jibrila, NTA News.
30th of May, the Nigeria Center for Disease Control, NCDC, has confirmed 553 new cases of COVID-19, bringing the total to 9,855. The number of treated and discharged are 2,856, while death stands at 256. Breakdown of the new figure indicates Lagos has 378, FCT Abuja 52, Delta 23, Rivers 14, Ogun 13, and Kaduna 12. Others are Kano 9, Borno 7, Katsina 6, Jigawa and Oyo 5 each, Yobe and Plateau 3 each, while Oshun has 1 case. Despite the increase in cases of COVID-19 in some parts of the country, Borno State has in recent times continued to record a decline in the number of cases despite the suspension of 3 weeks lockdown. This feat the Secretary, High-Powered Response Team on COVID-19, and Borno State Health Commissioner Dr. Salisu Aliu Kwayabura says was as a result of improved surveillance, contact tracing, and enhanced testing capacity to contain the spread. Pauline Kujevana reports.
It's been 5 weeks since the first confirmed case of coronavirus in Borno State. The few weeks that followed were hectic for the people as measures to contain the spread came into force with increased cases. With me is the Commissioner of Health, who is also the Secretary of COVID-19 Response Team in Borno State, who will give us an update of the pandemic. Sir, what is the situation of the pandemic in the state now?
At the moment, we are almost at a plateau. Since the last 1 week or so, we have maintained a single-digit case detection, which is very good for us. And despite the fact that we've worked hard to have traced over 5,000 contacts, to have tested over 1,100 samples or people for COVID-19, to have recorded a little over 250, just 257 cases, I believe that we're doing very well in Borno State. And the data, the statistics shows that we probably have gotten a better control of it, and that despite the increasing testing, we are getting a flattened curve, and perhaps we'll soon be out of the doldrums. One of our successes has actually come from the work of the contact tracing and surveillance teams. Over 90% of the contact or of the cases that we've recorded, we can trace them to either one contact or the other, or at least be able to know that they are coming from outside the state, because you may recall that because of the strategy of testing, particularly across the interstate borders, where we put people into quarantine and we test them, most of the positive cases that we're getting that are not attached to any contact within the metropolis or within the state are actually people coming from other states, especially those who are coming from Kano, coming from Abuja, and amongst them especially long-distance vehicle drivers coming in from Lagos. So we've had quite a number of people from among those.
5 weeks on, there seems to be a visible slowdown of COVID-19 cases in Borno, with a new isolation center prepared for eventualities, followed by safety protocols as advocated by health experts. It's back to you in the studio.
Many thanks, Pauline. The Nigerian Private Sector Coalition Against COVID-19 has donated an equipped isolation center to Niger State government towards fighting the COVID-19 pandemic in the state. Governor Abubakar Sani Bello, who inaugurated the facility located at the Hajj camp in Mina, applauded the initiative. Suleiman Kodogi reports.
The Nigerian Private Sector Coalition Against COVID-19 is a joint initiative of leading private sector leaders and the Central Bank of Nigeria, launched to support the government in the fight against COVID-19 in Nigeria. Items donated include 100 beds, 100 hospital overhead tables, mobile X-ray machine, and 1,000 personal protective wares, among others, worth millions of naira. Governor Abubakar Sani Bello appreciated the initiative and assured of continued partnership as well as effective use of the facilities provided.
You can't just produce children and you allow the society to take care of your responsibility. If you have the ability and capacity to produce children, then you must have the ability and capacity to take very good care of them and give them the required parental guidance. And that is my stand on this. We'll make sure we take care of them. Soon we're working on a policy that will ensure that everyone has the opportunity to go to school.
The governor noted that the isolation center will be put to use for the Almajiris returned back to the state from other parts of the country for medical examination before uniting them with their respective families. In Mina, Suleiman Kodogi, NTA News.
Channels from community leaders, ward, village and district heads to paramount rulers play an effective role in delivering information and capture attention, trust and positive response from the people. Traditional rulers, as bridge builders and vital link between government and the people, are well placed to plug gaps in ensuring effective public response to the COVID-19 pandemic to reduce community spread. Sustenance of safety protocols such as use of face mask, observing social distance and continuous hand washing, especially at the grassroots, can succeed with the intervention of the traditional institutions. With me in the studio to discuss this issue is the Director, Emirate Affairs in the Borno State Ministry of Local Government, Zanna Hassan Boguma, who is also the Zanna Boguma of Borno. Sir, it's a pleasure to have you join us on Panorama this afternoon.
The pleasure is mine.
Okay. Okay, sir, how much contributions have traditional institutions made in the renewed determination to rid communities of the COVID-19 pandemic?
Well, as the role portends, because the traditional institution is key in development and in keeping to the pace of development anywhere in this country. Our traditional institution are the most closest to their communities, and people revere them so much because of the inherent nature of the institution. They care much about their people, and they always stand for the people. So with the outbreak of this pandemic, the traditional institution had tried their best to reach out to the people, to enlighten them, and to also inform them on the dangers posed by the pandemic. The traditional rulers were partners in progress with government, and because of that, ever since the pandemic started, they did not rest on their oars. They have been discussing the matter at the grassroots level, from the ward to the village and district levels, because they have been having series of meetings with the ward heads, with the village heads, with the district heads and councils, so that they can go out to the people to talk to them on the needs for proper care to be taken, because the NCDC has already given out guidelines on how to protect yourself. So the preventive measures were the ones that the traditional rulers were telling their people to adopt. As you can see here in Borno, with the active participation of the institution and with the partnership by government, they have tried to reach out to almost all the nook and crannies of their communities. I could remember His Eminence the Sheikh of Borno had called for a meeting of the council and district heads, and they have addressed and talked so much on the issue, and they have been doing it periodically, and they have been trying their best to also inform, you know, the religious leaders, so as to also talk to people on their pulpits, in the mosques, in churches, and what have you. So the traditional rulers are key in the fight against the COVID-19 pandemic. As you could recall, before COVID-19, we have had a series of other epidemics. I could remember in 1918, there was a great flu, the Spanish flu they call it. That flu had taken toll of a lot of, you know, lives in the whole world. Here in Nigeria, particularly in the northern region, Borno alone had recorded about 10,000 deaths as a result of the Spanish flu. Here we call it Chirimba. That is the Kanuris.
That's in Kanuri.
That in Kanuris they call it Chirimba. So many people have died. But yet with the resilience, determination, and the efforts of our traditional rulers, at that time there wasn't anything much about safety measures. There were nothing about, you know, hygiene, and people who are living in cluster, people who are living in, you know, congested places. So they tried their best as leaders of their communities to address the issue traditionally. And one other aspect of their role is to pray for peace, security, stability and safety of their people. So that is what they have been doing. The traditional rulers are very, very key in this fight against the pandemic of COVID-19.
Okay, that's interesting. Okay, sir, in the past, epidemics such as smallpox, polio, and guinea worm had, you know, traditional rulers taking the lead in making people accept the truth that has turned the tide. How can this play out in the coronavirus pandemic?
Just as in the polio case, you know, in each community, in each ward, in each village, in each district, the district head, the ward head, the village head were chairman of their respective community committees to handle polio cases. Equally, with this problem of COVID-19, I suggest to government to also use that forum, which is already in existence in various communities, because people respect their traditional rulers. They revere them and they listen to them, more than they listen even to the government. Because you can remember, from the military to civilian administrations, any program that is to be brought into the country has to pass through the traditional rulers, because they are the gatekeepers to the people. So therefore, the pandemic, which is deadly, which is real, which is killing, you know, too needed the attention and partnership of the traditional institution. So the rulers were very, very key in this aspect. I could remember there was a standing committee in the state. That committee was the Traditional and Religious Leaders Advocacy on Health Matters, of which I am also a member. There was a time when the issue of rejection of polio came up in Mobile local government. There is one very big malam who had, a very big followership, and he had instructed all his people not to accept any vaccine that is coming as a way of polio. But when we spoke to His Eminence Show Bono and he directed us to go, we went to that place, we spoke with the Malam, we said, this is from the show. Immediately he sent out messages to all his followers that they should henceforth accept. So equally, with this pandemic, that is what is supposed to be done.
All right. Okay, sir, what needs to be done to ensure that traditional institutions on broken chain with their people, is effectively utilized against COVID-19?
Well, the government is at liberty to always partner with them. The government should carry them along. They should inform them, because they have this responsibility, which is very, very enormous. So therefore, as before, they should be asked to and co-opted into various committees that were set to fight this pandemic. I think at the Emirate Council level, His Eminence Show had a committee which is going out to be talking to people, to be sensitizing people, to enlighten people, to talk to them on the reality of the matter, as well as on how to prevent from contacting these diseases. Now, face masking, social distancing, hand washing, and stay at home policies of government to avert, the contact of this pandemic is key. So therefore, the traditional rulers must be used by the various governments in all the states, so that they can reach out to their people, talk to their people, because the people listen to them very much.
Okay. Thank you so much for your insight, sir. At this point, I would like to say a very big thank you to you for being part of Panorama this afternoon.
Thank you.
You're on to Panorama on the Nigerian Television Authority. Let's take a break now. There will be more stories shortly.
I wish to once again commend the frontline workers across the country who, on a daily basis, risk everything to ensure we win this fight. For those who got infected in the line of duty, rest assured that government will do all it takes to support you and your families during this exceedingly difficult period. I will also take this opportunity to assure you all that your safety, well-being, and welfare remains paramount to our government. I am using this opportunity to express our deepest condolences to the families of all Nigerians that have lost their loved ones as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic. This is our collective loss, and we share your grief.
Thanks for rejoining us on Panorama. Commercial vehicle operators in Maiduguri, the Borno state capital, are beginning to demonstrate non-compliance to social and physical distancing measures, which is likely to endanger the people as more cases of the dreaded coronavirus pandemic continue to be recorded. This was the scenario across Maiduguri metropolis, with many tricycle operators and passengers unmindful of physical distancing despite government's warning. Yagumsu Bukar reports.
Statistics have revealed that the coronavirus pandemic, a global health issue, has killed 356,000 people, with over 5 million infected and over 2.3 million recovered across the globe since its outbreak. Even though no specific drug or vaccine have been identified as its cure, there are a lot of measures put in place as protocol against contracting the virus. Maintenance of personal hygiene and observance of social and physical distancing are key among the preventive measures, with all stakeholders agreeing to the social distancing protocol at commencement of measure. Compliance levels were high, but no state government had directed all tricycle operators within the state not to pick more than 2 passengers at a time, a development which is no longer practiced.
We call our members to order, then we maintain that social distancing.
Relevant authorities concerned frowned at the attitude of Keke Napep riders for violating the directive, expressing worry that non-compliance contravenes COVID-19 safety protocols.
We will now give them the benefit of the doubt after the necessary sensitization in collaboration with the State Ministry of Transport. We will now once again rededicate ourselves and draw the attention of the security agencies for full enforcement of whatever that required or ought to be.
The use of face masks is not well adhered to in terms of use in commercial vehicles. These are the next areas we're looking at and trying to see how we can best enforce that.
Non-adherence to physical distancing, use of face masks and hygiene practices by Maiduguri residents, if not checked, could lead to increase in cases of COVID-19 in the state. In Maiduguri, Yagumsu Bukar, NTA News.
Thanks, Yagumsu. Borno State Environmental Protection Agency has sustained fumigation of public places and organizations as part of measures to contain spread of COVID-19. With the suspension of lockdown and in continuation of the exercise, Bosepa fumigated the entire premises of the NTA Maiduguri Network Center. Rebecca Baturi reports.
Even before the confirmation of coronavirus pandemic in the state, Borno State Environmental Protection Agency Bosepa has been working hard, disinfecting public places and organizations in the fight against spread of COVID-19, while an NTA fumigation crew went round administrative offices, operational areas, transmission section, as well as all surroundings. The Zonal Director, NTA Maiduguri, represented by the Deputy Director, Finance, Ishaya Hananioba, expressed appreciation for the fumigation exercise, noting that the gesture is an indication that the agency has identified the important role NTA is playing towards ending the coronavirus pandemic in the state and the country at large.
I want to appreciate and thank Borno State Environmental Protection Agency, BOSEPA, for seeing us worthy.
The General Manager of BOSEPA, Nasir Ali Surundi, said the agency has so far fumigated some part of the Federal Secretariat, hospitals, IDP camps, host communities, and University of Maiduguri Teaching Hospital Isolation Center, among others.
We are going to involve our people to all take the knapsack sprayer to be spraying the community, more especially the drainage and then all the sewage system within the communities.
Nasir Ali Surundi appealed to the people to adopt the culture of washing hands and other hygiene practices, while the agency will continue with the enforcement of hygiene practice of routine spraying exercise in the communities. In Maiduguri,
As part of activities commemorating the 47th anniversary of the National Youth Service Corps, the scheme in Borno State distributed palliative to internally displaced persons taking refuge at the NYSC orientation camp in Maiduguri, housing the displaced persons. Medical outreach was also conducted at the IDP's camp to support the health of the victims of the insurgency and the prevention of COVID-19. Jetwa Jonjesni reports.
During the heat of the Boko Haram insurgency, the National Youth Service Corps gave out its orientation camp to provide solace and shelter for thousands of displaced communities across the state. This followed the shifting of NYSC camp orientation exercise for Borno to other states due to security concerns. Clocking 47 years in existence, the scheme deemed it fit to distribute palliatives as well as conduct medical outreach to IDPs taking refuge in the NYSC IDPs camp. The beneficiaries expressed appreciation to NYSC Borno State for giving them some sense of belonging.
Last time haka suka zo suka yi mana tallafi mun ji daɗin shi. Ubangiji Allah ya saka musu. Haka muke so.
Execution of community development services as well as participation in various governmental activities by the National Youth Service Scheme are all part of its mandate to national development.
In order for us to reach as many households as possible, that's why we choose to meet them at the IDP camps, because this is basically their home now. Successes recorded by the scheme are tremendous, and we keep on counting. The current management of the NYSC are doing a lot to reposition the scheme to align with the demands of the current times.
The NYSC scheme pledged its continuous support to the Borno State government in its quest to manage and curb the spread of COVID-19. In Maiduguri, Jadwajon Jesini, NTA News.
And talking sports now, with the resumption of European League matches, Hertha Berlin continued their unbeaten run in the German Bundesliga, beating Augsburg 2-0 at home. Uche Mbeda has details on Sports Update. And that's all we can take on this afternoon's edition of Panorama. Have a pleasant Sunday.